I'm going to be a great milk cow. Alright, so we are finished milking. Now we've got to take the milk machine back into the milk processing room and strain the milk. And we just leave Miss Merida in there eating while we're doing this. First thing I do is wash my hands. Alright, next thing we have to do is strain the milk. I've got jars set up here. Our family prefers the half-gallon jars. They're easier for the kids to pour. And you can get the mason jar lids that have the handles that you can pour easily. And that's just what our family prefers. We don't have any more of these clean right now because we use so much milk. And so whenever we don't have those clean, we repurpose any other kind of jar. This is a pickle jar. And so any kind of glass jar works. But like I said, we prefer the smaller jars just because they're easier to handle. So the first thing we do is we get our funnel ready. I'll fill up the big one first. And we use these filters to go inside the funnel. They're just flat paper-like filters, and they go inside. And it has this ring that fits right down on top of it, and you just push it down into the middle, and it makes it tight. So then that's your funnel. All right, so now we've got the funnel in place. We're just going to strain the milk. So we're going to take the top off of the milking machine bucket and pour just straight from the bucket into the funnel. I'll try to pick this up so y'all can see. It just funnels straight down into the jar very quickly. We'll just add a little at a time until we have a full jar. You can see that jar is full. I'm just going to switch the funnel. Go ahead and put the lid on that so we don't have any stray flies decide to go for a swim. And you got to be careful because it does go through fast and you'll end up with an overflowing jar. Alright, that's all of our milk for today. So I'll take this off. You can see she gave us just about, well, yeah, a gallon and a half. So that's how much we get from milking her once a day. The next thing I do is I just have regular masking tape and a Sharpie, and I write the date on each of the lids. Okay, it's 8/11. And this just helps us keep track of how old the milk is. And I just stick it right on top. And now it is ready for the freezer for 2 hours. We just stick it inside of the deep freezer and let it chill for 2 hours just to bring it down to temperature faster. You want to get it between 35 and 45 degrees Fahrenheit within 1 hour of milking. All right, so now that the milk is in the freezer chilling, we're gonna do some cleanup. First thing I do is I take out our little filter, and there is a lot of foam on here, but I still like to kind of push around on it just to make sure that there is no strings or any off coloring or anything like that. This looks great. Any of those things can be just signs of mastitis or other problems, and so I like to check that every time so I can catch it before it gets too bad. And once a week, this funnel and that bucket that we use for the hot water gets put in the dishwasher and run on a sterilization cycle too. So now we've got to clean the machine. The first step is fill this bucket again, but this time we're going to fill it with lukewarm water. I'm going to try to come away from the sink while it's filling up, so maybe it won't be so loud and you can hear me better. But the lukewarm water is because the fat globules can actually adhere to the inside of the tubing and the tank and all that stuff, and especially if you use hot water. So you would think hot water would kind of melt it, but it doesn't. It makes it adhere to the inside. So the first rinse is always lukewarm, and that is our soap rinse. So we're going to just put a little squirt of soap in there and run that through the machine first. All right, so it's filled up with our lukewarm water. We'll just use Palmolive soap. That was one of the soaps that MIDI Supply recommended for their machines. If you're not going to use a dairy soap, which in our area is very hard to find, so we use Palmolive and it seems to work very well. And we're just going to go through the same process that we did with the bleach solution. We're just going to turn it on, run it through, and dip it a couple of times to make sure that that solution gets coated in all the places. Now as we top the top, start the solution. So that's finished. And we'll do the same. We're going to pop this top a couple of times. You can see whenever I do that, it splashes the water with the soap on the inside of the machine. So those extra little pops of the button at the end help make sure that everything gets coated with soap. All right, and then we're just going to take this off, and we're going to empty the bucket back into the sink. Pour this bucket out. Rinse it out. And then we're going to fill it back up with hot water this time for the final rinse. And the final rinse is our acid rinse, and that acid really helps prevent the milkstone buildup inside the machine and on the walls of the tubing and everything. Okay, so we've got our bucket of water filled up. And again, we're going to use 2 ounces of the dairy acid just to prevent any milkstone buildup. We do the same process with the claw. And then we just put it over here on the other side, kind of tilt it to the side so that there's airflow. Give this a quick rinse. On top to dry. And that's the extent of cleaning the machine after milking. Last thing I like to do is I like to flip this part up so that it's not just hanging down. And I cover it with a towel. That way, if any flies are in here from walking back and forth, they don't land on top of the milking machine. It gets sterilized anyway, but it just makes me feel better. All right, so I also wanted to add that that was our daily routine. We also once a week take this little brush and brush up inside the inflations during the soap stage, just to do a little more thorough cleaning. So this is once a week. We'll just do that, and I'll also take off the top to the bucket that I put underneath this sheet. I'll take the top off and scrub it a little bit more thoroughly once a week. And I will take this piece apart and like unscrew these pieces and scrub those once a week. It just gives it a little bit more of a thorough cleaning, just in case anything is missed with the daily rinse. Also, once a month, I disassemble everything. I take apart the inflations and I take apart the tubes, and everything gets soaked in soapy water and scrubbed through with brushes. And you can see I have a really long brush up here. It goes all the way over. That goes inside the tube, and it scrubs it out, and then everything gets soaked in a more concentrate version of the acid rinse that we did. So then, just to make sure that there is no buildup in anywhere that's hiding in the machine. All right, so that's about the gist of our milking routine. And if you have any questions about any of it, feel free to leave it below. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe for more, and we'll see you next time. I can never think of what the proper name for these are. All right. Oh no.